already live.
Okay, it doesn't go live until I actually click live. Now streaming on live customer streaming service. Oh, maybe it is already live.
Yeah, I see it's live streaming.
Oh my God. Okay. Let me just check.
Yeah. Yes, I do see it on your page.
Okay. I'm not seeing it on my page. Interesting. Okay, so it's streamed with. All right. So apparently we're live online. We've skipped a step somewhere, but here we are. So
yeah, I'm quickly just showing it to my page. All right, cool. So welcome everyone. Really excited to be here with Ciara and I. So what this live stream is going to be about, we're going to be sharing all the things and talking all the things about igniting your heart consciousness, living from the heart, and really why it matters in today's world and how you can do it. But before we dive into all the nitty-gritty details, I would love for both of us to just introduce ourselves, because now it's streaming on Facebook, on YouTube. I will also upload it on my YouTube, Spiritual Selfish Later. So for anyone who is not familiar with you, Ciara, I would love for you to share a little bit of the magic that you're bringing in the world.
I love to share. So I've been on a spiritual journey my entire life. Basically, I started with my first major initiations when I was 4, and it's really never stopped. And I joke about how I kind of skipped a lot of like stuff that people typically get involved in, because I've been on my spiritual journey the whole time, just plunged into like my service work. It's what I'm here for on this planet, and I've managed successfully to bypass a whole lot of the stuff that would have been in the way otherwise. And I actually got into what I'm doing now, sharing publicly and, you know, connecting with my beautiful clients around the world totally by accident, as quite often happens when you're just living your purpose. You know, it wasn't intentional. I just followed the impulse the whole time on my next steps. And I ended up sharing like on the internet. I'm a totally insanely deep introvert and like not a huge fan of being among people and in crowds and so on. So like just pushing myself through, this is what I have to do. I can't explain why. And somehow I ended up creating a business, again, completely by accident, from all of this, just from people coming and saying like, how do I get involved in your world? And at this point, 10 years into my public service work, I'm really aware, like I have a business, if you will. That's really, it's not even a business in the normal sense. It is a service mission, essentially, where I'm sharing with beautiful beings all around the world everything that I've essentially learned from my own journey, and that I'm continuously learning through ongoing initiations and from amazing teachers that I get to work with. And what I do essentially is I'm guiding the beautiful beings that come to me beyond the dream of separation, I like to call it. So for eons of time, we've lived in the dream of separation, which is essentially this whole construct of reality where we believed ourselves to be separate from source. We believed ourselves to be separate from each other. We believed the major cosmic poles, for example, masculine and feminine, inner and outer, and so on, to be separate from each other. And what we're doing in everything that I'm sharing is moving beyond that, which is essentially moving beyond duality, which is the root cause of all of the pain and the struggle and the strife and everything that we've ever experienced, which naturally then lands us in beautiful, flourishing, thriving reality where we create the new earth together, hand in hand. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell, you know, if you have 10 years experience behind you, there's so much you could share about what you do. But yes, I love everything that you're sharing, and I feel the reason why you and I so resonate together is how you speak about waking up from the dream of separation, right? It's the core values and perception, how you experience reality of there's nothing to fix, and we're just removing the distortions and trauma, wounding whatsoever that is blurring our perception of source, right? Of the truth, so to speak. But for those of you guys who are new to me, I do feel our work with Ciara is really overlapping, but a little bit different frequency, so to speak. So for me, I also never intended not I never intended to get into spirituality. I wanted always to have an online business so that then, I can be my own boss and not to work for anyone else. But I never intended to get into spirituality. I was in self-development since the age 12, 13, starting with Bob Proctor, learning about the law of attraction, how the human mind works, all of those things. But it's really, I would say, from 2017, when I moved from Latvia, left all of my life, which I already made it in my early 20s, moved to Australia, had, major ego death, had to rebuild myself, and then also moved to Bali, where again, I was exposed to energy work and spirituality. And, from there, it has been a journey. So, which brings us to today's day. And my main mission and my main, service in this incarnation is really to support mission souls who came here to build their empire of light, to share their service, share their unique coding. And my support really is shown, in various fields. It can be practical as, structure and strategy of your business, new earth business, or it can be things like doing shadow work, doing energy healing and surgeries to release that conditioning so that you can return back into alignment, the natural flow of energy within oneself. And of course, all of that to be in service from your heart, right? Not from ego, not I just want to money or fame or whatever. It's really shifting from being in service to self to service to others. And this was where we're really overlapping and co-creating many magical things I see in the future.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing. I love to hear your story. It makes me so happy.
Right? It's like when light workers start to share, it's like, yeah, I see you. I resonate with all of that.
I love that.
But yeah, so this is a little bit about us. For those of you who are new guys, and we will begin. I will be kind of guiding naturally the conversation so that Ciara can share a little bit more of her magic and knowledge and expertise when it comes to heart consciousness. Because we at the end we'll talk about some practical things, and you'll understand why. But before we dive in, I would love to set two intentions and for this conversation, and it is my biggest desire is for anyone who is tuning in is to really be exposed and bring into their awareness why it's so important to start to live from the heart in our day and age. And the second intention is, well, all right, I understand, the vision of it, but how do I actually get it? How do I get there on the level of embodiment, not just the mind? And throughout this life, we're gonna share some practicalities and next steps as some virtual and or in-person events, right? So, Ciara, give me your perspective, your point of view. What does it mean to you personally to live from the heart?
Absolutely. So my view on this is a little bit out there. It's a little bit different to what you might encounter in the mainstream. I'll tell you about that. So, like I said, I've been on a spiritual journey my entire life. And initially, in earlier stages of my evolutionary process, I really found I was living from the heart, living from the heart, living from the heart, living from the heart. And it got me into a lot of trouble, actually. Got me into a lot of situations, where I was self-sacrificing, where I was tolerating the unacceptable from other people, essentially being abused in a lot of cases and so on, and really living in a way that was detrimental to my greater self. And I had to go on this journey of really understanding that the role for light workers in this new reality that we're in is dramatically changing. It used to be the case for eons of time that we did this self-sacrificial type of service thing. And really similar to, the way you've created your business around the idea of spiritually selfish, right? We have to actually switch to a new service paradigm where we realize that we are a proxy for all of life. And we essentially have to put our own being first while realizing it's not the same thing as individualism, It's realizing that our own being is a proxy for all of life and function, supporting ourselves first in oneness to uplift all of life. And from this revelation, I realized, the heart, as we've noted, is actually quite programmed. There's a lot of, like love everybody, love everything, support, tolerate sort of thing going on. And this is the journey that I went on, and then I encountered my spiritual teacher, Amin, the seer Amin, excuse me, and she talks about dissolving of the programming of the heart. And she explicitly talks about how the heart and the mind and the spirit hold layers of programming that are from the old paradigm that keeps us locked in this idea of like heart consciousness that the majority of light workers have that's really actually not helping us to birth the new earth at all. And so my understanding of heart consciousness at this stage in my journey is actually what I like to call the purified heart, where you've dissolved all of that stuff and you see with clarity. It's a simultaneous heart consciousness experience with clarity of vision. And it enables you to operate in a way that I like to call divine compassion, which sometimes in contrast to compassion, where there's this binding tie thing going on. And that sometimes translates to things like tough love, getting yourself out of toxic situations, refusing to support the intolerable, refusing to buy into things like the victim-based activism and so on, which is not helping. It's really not helping at all. And it's this higher love, if you will, this higher love that kind of transcends those layers of distortion. That's my experience of heart consciousness.
Yeah, I love that you really emphasize the difference of, purified heart, because yes, you can tap into heart consciousness as it is, but a lot of us, especially mission souls, starseeds, light workers, we do carry beyond incarnations, across incarnations, pre-programming, which is trauma, woundings, persecutions, where it was not safe to express our pure, unconditional love and be in service. So a lot of people in this incarnation, they continue to, I'm at least gonna make some difference, so I'm gonna do everything for free, or I'm gonna, people please and, have a lack of boundaries, right? So there is difference between purified, like original blueprint of heart consciousness, versus the one that is still carrying shadows or wounding frequencies of wounding, right? So when we are speaking about really the heart consciousness, we're speaking about the divine, the purified original blueprint of heart consciousness. So I just want listeners to really get that, right? It's not people pleasing and so on. It's like that one, it's healing. And this is exactly why we're co-creating the events and the retreat right now, so that light workers can actually step up into abundance and prosperity without self-imposed or imposed limits of society.
I adore the way you described the original blueprint, because that's exactly it. It got distorted along the way in the dream of separation, but there is an original blueprint, and that's the one that we're attuning to. So I love the way you put that. It's so nailed it.
Thank you. As we're talking about this, would you mind sharing some of the things that would signify to people that maybe there is some distortion lingering within their heart consciousness? So for example, I know a big one for me personally was fear of not being received, So me not being able to go deep with sharing my wisdom because I felt, oh, people are not ready, I'm not gonna be understood, and so on. Or things like feeling you're not supported or separate from the source, right? So what are the things people can look out for?
Absolutely. So I'm really about the practical. With my clients, I always bring, in the new age industry, there's a lot of like lofty sort of stuff. I'm really about like bringing it down to what's going on in your immediate life sort of thing, like what's happening in your home, this type of thing. And things that people can look out for is anywhere at all, in a nutshell, where you're limiting your own capacity of expression because there's something of a shield around the heart. So for you, like you just described a moment ago, it can be like fear that you're not going to be received, fear that you won't be loved if you express all of yourself, fear that you're not supported unless you self-sacrifice in a certain way, fear of claiming what you feel is your higher birthright because of how people will perceive you. So this can show up in, for example, you won't charge the price that's correct for your sacred work because you're worried that people are going to say like, okay, that's a spiritual being, why has she got these prices, why has he got these prices, sort of thing. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Or I won't be seen as loving if I operate in the higher divine love of the tough love sort of thing. I've had a lot of, for example, in my public work, projections come at me online where people would say, that's not loving, you're supposed to be highly evolved. It's anywhere that we limit what feels true to our heart of hearts because of fear. It's said, cosmically speaking, that the opposite of love is fear. So you can instantly tell anywhere there's a fear, even the tiniest residue, the full expression of the divine love of the heart is not shining. It's the simplest way to quantify it.
Yes, I absolutely love that. It's something similar I share with my teachings around shadow work, or around, how do you know if you're truly, expressing yourself freely? Well, if there is still something that feels just a bit, even a bit contracting, or it doesn't feel like, oh yeah, then it means there is still something that we can release, right? And again, it's not right or wrong, because a lot of people will start beating themselves up for, oh, I already done so much work and I'm still experiencing this. It's like layers upon layers that we can dissolve, which actually I would love for you to share a little bit more about Belaspata, the system of Belaspata, because when you introduced me to this principle, I remember watching one of your trainings where you were describing that, that the poles have shifted and now the energy is working a different way. However, even though that have happened, we still need time to clear up the cosmic trauma, to clear up the distortions. So if you could just in a nutshell first to share what is Belaspata, and then what does it do for us as human beings, as light workers?
Precisely. So just one tiny thing I want to backtrack very slightly first that ties into something you said a moment ago. Think of it this way. We've lived the dream of separation for eons of time. That's a lot to clean up. It's not something that just happens like done, that's it. That's why there's the layers, which I hope that everybody who's listening to us will really grasp. It's we have to be in such a depth of self-understanding. Like, this is a big deal that we're trying to do. We came here for a big job. It's not a mistake that there's this bit and then there's this bit and it just keeps going. It's not a personal failure. It's like a massive mission that we took on. Belaspata is something I am so profoundly passionate about. So I'll just tell you, first of all, quickly, where did it come from? It was originated by my teacher, the Ciara Young, and she brought it through in Ireland in 2006, very specifically in response to witnessing the cosmic pole shift that happened. So it's not common knowledge in the spiritual arena. To my great surprise, Almin's actually written a book about it called The Ring of Truth. If anybody wants to read it, maybe we can drop a link in the comments. but there actually was a cosmic pole shift in 2006. And with a cosmic pole shift, basically what happens is that the poles reverse. The way that the poles function cosmically reverses. So what happened at this time, and the example that I always use to describe this, because people recognize this, is that whereas previously it used to be the case that opposite energies attracted and opposite light attracted, that flipped on its head. So most light workers recognize the concept of that prior to a certain time. Maybe people don't recognize the year, but I bet when we talk about it now, you'll start to go, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. The majority of light workers found themselves kind of surrounded by opposite energy, or a lot of the times opposite light. And what that meant was the more light you had, the more darkness was in your environment. That was how it was cosmically. That literally changed overnight in August 2006. And it flipped on its head. So from that point, that's where light workers started to attract each other. Same energy started to attract, same light started to attract. And we started to draw each other into each other's fields. The challenge has been because we lived the reverse for eons, like literally billions of years. And really to the infinite, this is the blink of an eye. But to us in our linear human perception, it's like, oh my God, that was a long time. I like to say old habits die hard. It was that kind of thing of like, what, you know, it was like that yesterday and now.
That's it, you know, now you're a little different life.
So what a lot of light workers started to notice that it wasn't until like 2008, 2009, 2010, onwards that things started to shift, because we were still lodged in the previous belief systems from the old cosmos. It's like what we're having to do now is literally cleanse eons worth of belief systems. And I know you know very well, Kristina, that reality, the way that it works, it literally has to match our belief systems. That's it. That's the foundation. Whatever we believe will manifest itself as our reality. It's a cosmic law. So light workers have been trying to catch up with, okay, my belief systems about how it was for eons are changing. Gradually, we're syncing up with the new way. So what Belvaspatad does as a system, what makes it so unique, is Almina is a miraculous seer and mystic. She's, in my opinion, the greatest mystic of our time. She tackles things that have never been touched by mystics ever before. She's a Toltec Nagual, in case anybody recognizes that phrase. It's a particular type of mystic that have studied these in-depth mysteries for eons. And so what Belvaspatad does is it actually tackles the very root of duality. Almin states that the root of duality, if we look at how the cosmic poles has functioned, has been the separation between light and frequency. They represent light as the masculine, frequency as the feminine. And the separation between them is the root cause of duality. So what Belvaspatad does is it unites light and frequency, and it literally dissolves the root cause of duality. So when we work with Belvaspatad, what it does is it basically, beyond light speed, fast tracks that dissolution of the belief systems of duality. So instead of it being like, we need to spend the next 1,000,000 years to solve all of this stuff from the last eons, it just goes, well, we just collapse it, actually. And the biggest benefit is that when an individual practitioner works with this, they're actually doing it for the cosmos. So the more of us use this, and this is a huge part of why the evolutionary process has been so fast over the last decade, the more of us use this, the more we're collapsing the belief systems of duality for the entire cosmos, which speeds everything up. Does that explain?
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, there's so much we can go into with Belvaspatad and the pole shifting, and you know, light workers to start to attract each other. One, what I wanted to acknowledge, I'm sure so many people have noticed how fast time has flown, especially the last 5 years so quickly, how quickly our abilities as a psychic beings start to develop. It's like the level of embodiment is just happening so quickly because, as you said, the densities that the old programming is collapsing and being cleared so much faster than it used to be, even 100 years ago. There was something I wanted to say. So Belaspata in an angelic light language is healing of the heart, right? And one of the things that when you introduced me to this concept, when I heard Belaspata in my head, in my conditioned mind, I thought, oh, it's maybe some, I don't know, practice coming from India with all the gurus and woo woo yada yada. I was like, okay, let's see what is it about. But I did see, like, the sigils, like the light language symbol on your website. So I was like, all right, so it's definitely not that. This is something new, and I'm sharing this because I just really want other people not to project their previous programming, their previous perceptions or experiences onto what we are bringing here. Because once I really dug deeper and watched some of the videos, and I really understood it's not like, oh yeah, magical practice. It's not just a healing modality. It's a completely new software. It's a completely new installment, how you're going to perceive reality. It's a new way of being, which actually, to my somewhat surprise, as I dug deeper, I already was embodying a lot of values and perception, consciousness, all of Bilaspaten, which is basically oneness within oneself. But I did it myself, so to speak, right? I didn't had a guide give me tools or give me a system or whatsoever. I did it by working with my higher self, following my spirit guides who guided me on journey of healing and shadow work and releasing, right? Where at the end, I arrived to the place of unlocking and igniting my pure heart consciousness. And now me realizing, holy moly, there's actually a system that somebody can plug into versus me spending years kind of doing something, not knowing what I'm doing. But somebody can plug in, have a mentor, and do it so much quicker with the tools. And they actually know where they're going, that, oh, I'm actually igniting my pure heart consciousness. That's what makes me so excited, right? It's not just like, oh yeah, a label or whatever. No. You're completely going to be rewired once you embody this system, this way of being.
I love that. And you know what? You touched on another one of the reasons why I am so insanely excited about sharing this with as many people as possible, right? So the experience that you had when practitioners work with this, it literally makes the whole thing available to all of life. Imagine if we had like thousands more of us using this, humanity's going to have the experience that you had. That's the best thing about this. It's such a profound gift. It's not about this crazy thing of like, oh, I'm studying this thing and now I'm all enlightened and all this stuff. You're doing it as a service. When you do it, everybody gets it. Imagine the gift of that. Like that almost makes me cry with joy, that we can give that, as well as fast tracking your own experience.
yeah, exactly. And most probably me, I just picked it up. I picked up the frequencies, this work from the quantum field, and I did it myself, so to speak. But exactly as you said, imagine if there will be more of us doing this work, and having the system actually, which you can follow, aka the structure, aka masculine, embodied, grounded energy. It's gonna just assist with the manifestation of the new earth and heart-based paradigm so much.
I love that. It makes me so happy.
Yes, me too. And yeah, I'm just excited for the retreat to meet all the people and for this to freaking, download into our grid. All right, so let me just quickly look at my notes because there's so many things I want to, I don't want to get off the track.
I'm going to pour some tea in the meantime.
Yeah, so yes, we already talked about this. So a couple of more words before we jump into the retreat stuff. Some of the practicalities, how the healing, or what does it do for people, when you receive Balvaspata, when you receive, angelic healing of the heart, me as a receiver, what may I expect to experience?
Absolutely. So the very first thing that I'll share about that is that the more that you work with this, the greater the impact. It is absolutely cumulative. And for that reason, I adore getting people to train in this. I have basically all my clients, I think pretty much all my clients so far, except for a couple, have eventually ended up training in this, because I am obsessed with empowerment. I want you to do it yourself, and then you've got a tool on your hands, rather than relying on me to do it for you, sort of thing. So what it does for, let's say you received it once, it is such an incredible, pure, beautiful angelic frequency that it lifts you out of the layers of whatever, let's call it, I want to say distortion that you've been experiencing within the dream of separation. It's like it lifts you through grace.
Yeah.
And you experience this elevation of like, oh my God, wow, the purity of my real self. The purity of reality that's beyond these bits that have been lingering in my fields that are not the truth of who I really am. If you do it again and again and again and again and again, what it does is enlightenment. Literally, you will end up an enlightened being. We actually have an entire protocol that's called Kanish Balvaspata, that literally its purpose is to deliver enlightenment. And enlightenment means that you are living, this is the real deal, it's not, enlightenment isn't something for the masters in the cave in India, like you said. It's our birthright as divine beings on this earth, and it's available to every single one of us. It's the state of being fully realized as a divine being, where you're outside of the layers of the non-self, if we want to put it like that. If you use this again and again and again and again, that's what you're going to get in a fast-tracked way. Does that answer your question?
It does. And when you were speaking, I actually had not realization, but something like a new perspective as you were, showing with your hands that it's lifting us up. And my experience of it, and when you said enlightenment, is really, what it is assisting us to do is lifting us up from the densities.
Yes.
Right? And every time you do it, every time you receive more healing, more, opening up, you're lifting up, 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 and you become so much more lighter in comparison where you were in the densities. And that is enlightenment, where I feel there's so much still distortion around the word enlightenment. There's still a lot of, ego-based perception around enlightenment, whereas in a nutshell, enlightenment, right? All it is you embodying the light, you being light, not being dense, just being light and pure. That's it.
Brilliantly described. You just described that so perfectly, Kristina. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I want to add into that Almin describes density as illusion. And illusion, what it is in a nutshell, is belief systems. So what the system is actually doing is it's dissolving all of those layers of belief systems that we don't even need to necessarily understand, and lifting us out of the density, exactly like you just said. I mean, you could spend 50 lifetimes trying to understand and untangle the belief systems, or you could just be lifted through grace. This is a system of grace, just, okay, whatever, we're just leaving it. Let's just move beyond.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like a lot of, distortion around that is that a lot of people still are based in the mind around healing, and they try to fix it, try to heal it. Like, how you can just drop it? No, it's like I need to suffer. They're addicted to suffering, right? Whereas for me, it's like, I'm here to do big things. I cannot be bothered. Like, I don't have time to undo all the layers. Like, I don't have this incarnation for eons, right? Because I'm doing my stuff, ancestral stuff, culture stuff, and then I'm acting as a proxy for a lot of other stuff. So it's, it can happen just, as a decision, because decision creates a massive ripple effect within the fields.
Brilliant. And this leads me to another point that I'd love to add. This system, sometimes I'm cautious about mentioning this word, but I'm just going to go there with it right now. This is a system that's been given to us by the Divine Mother. Imagine the Divine Mother archetype, right? So many people have had the experience of like a fake mother archetype in their lives. Mother trauma is really common. And even if we talk about like the way society has conditioned us, and it was meant to be a parental figure and so on, and it's like a controlling, distorted mother, father sort of thing going on. The Divine Mother adores us unconditionally. What she does is she comes along and she says, sweetheart, I want you to thrive. We just lift you out. This is a system of the Divine Mother that heals through grace. And what grace means is you just allow yourself to be held and lifted. That's it. That's what the real mother does.
Yeah, it feels so good. And just like, as you're speaking, I'm like so excited, so grateful that we have this. Mm-hmm. But yet I also feel a bit sad, because I feel most of the people are not ready yet to fully receive it. It's like, how can I just be happy and so on, right? And there's still a lot of people not allowing themselves to just receive and those kind of things. So we can go on a rabbit hole with that, but yes, it's just like brings me so much joy and excitement that step by step we're starting to spread these codes through virtual world, through personal events, into the fields of other people, where they will then ripple and share this coding with other people as well. And humanity will get there.
There's actually one thing I'd love to just share about what you just said there. That's the dream of separation in a nutshell. The dream of separation is the dream that we had where we were separate from source. What is source? Source is the Divine Mother. So pretty much everybody on this planet, there's obviously groups of us in stages of awakening, is walking around with this profound pain in the core of ourselves that we separated from our mother. That's what this system does. That's why it's called healing of the heart. The pain, the trauma of feeling like I'm the child of the divine and my mother's gone. That's the crux of the dream of separation. That's why it has this name.
Just last piece to add on this, 100%, so many people have this unconscious separation program pain that, I've been separated from my original frequency, where for me, how I found peace within myself, and which allows me to truly live every day joyfully and be so excited and grateful for my incarnation, because I used to be like, oh, F that, like I cannot wait to be done with this lifetime. But it truly allowed me to see myself not as a separate, but as expression of that source. I am the source, right? And now from there, I started seeing every human being as a manifestation of the source. Source had a vision, and it is doing its things. And one of these things, in the third density, it needs humans to do certain things to clear distortions and so on. So, for me, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not separate from anything. I am the Divine Mother. I am expressing myself as this human being, and it allowed me to find so much unification within myself, within the source, within the people.
I love that so much. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, it truly is my desire for everyone to arrive to this place of unification and harmony within oneself, because life, it gets so much easier and so much more enjoyable when you get there, right? So with that being said, so let's talk about some of the practical things. We understand, all right, living from the heart will immensely transform each individual personal life, but then also will ripple out into the collective and into the earth. How do I get there? What are some practical things that I can start doing? And Ciara and I would love to share with you some of the upcoming events or, learning materials that you can dive into. But is there any like specific small steps that you'd like to share before we go into the events?
Absolutely. I would love to share that if you're feeling brave, this is the bravest thing that you can do. If you sincerely ask of life, make your prayer to life, show me everything that I am most deeply afraid of, that will take you on an initiatory path of facing everything that is in the way of living true heart consciousness. The most basic way that you can tackle this is day by day. If you have a ritual, for example, in the morning, where you sit down with yourself sincerely, you tune into your own being and you ask, reveal to me everything that is obstructing my fullness of expression of all that I am. And you just follow that path. You're going to be shown everything that you need to see. You're going to be shown the wounding, the pain, the relationship situations that are not working, the life situations that are not working, every way that you've avoided your greater self that's not working. And you just have to stay humble in, this is a journey. Life is guiding me. There's nothing wrong. It's a pathway out of the dream of separation. That's the best way that I know, if you're just working on your own, to really go through this. And I'd imagine that you've done something very similar with your own journey.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's exactly what I do when I, hit that dead end, and I'm like, talking with my guidance, like, dude, I'm done. I don't know what to do. It's like, when you really hit the rock bottom, it's like when we are at our lowest, we're open for the biggest breakthrough. And this is when our ego is like, oh, I actually don't know what to do. I need help. Right. So this is when, I also would say, I typically talk with my spirit team. So I'm like, right, guys, bring it on. Please help me to see the distortions, which I'm not seeing. Where am I capping myself? What are the woundings? And it's not just like, oh, please help me. And like, I'm hoping for some magic. It's like, I'm requesting help to be shown the darkness, and I'm ready to embrace it. I know that it will, require me maybe feeling some, pain and uncomfortability, but I'd rather do that than stay in the suffering over and over and over again. So it's, power of prayer or intention, and communicating with a higher power, whether it's your higher self, guides, infinite quantum field, is humongous.
That I agree completely. Ask for help in a nutshell.
Exactly. And asking for help is, one of the most feminine energies that we can, embody or be in. When we ask for help, we're opening up, allowing the flow of energy to come in and support us. With that being said, I would love to share about a couple of upcoming things that you guys can dive into to receive the support if you are feeling called to, all right, yes, I would love to open up my heart consciousness, ignite my heart consciousness, dissolve the illusion. Like, I'm so down with it, and receive that guidance and support, so that you can be the divine light and clear vessel of light for yourself, for others, and for the Mother Gaia. First things that I would love to share is the in-person retreat that Ciara and I are co-creating and facilitating in Latvia. which is my home country, which is happening on May 12th through May 14th. So it's 3 days. And the magic of this retreat is, it's not just, I'm just gonna, come and sit by the lake. It's truly you, first of all, receiving and experiencing the last bit of healing firsthand, right? Healing the heart. But also at the end, you will be ignited into this modality, into this system as a practitioner. So whether you have a business, a practice, or you don't, you will be able to either add it to an existing practice, either start a new one, or if you're like, I just want to learn it for myself, cool. You don't have to, start a business if you don't want to. But yes, this is going to be a huge transformational internal shift that is gonna help the retreat with. And a couple of things before I hand over to you is that the retreat really is the culmination point of, it's the initiation, is kind of let's say the last step. Because a lot of the things, as soon as you sign up for the retreat, you will be receiving materials about the last bit, the teachings, what it is, and you're going to be learning about it and learning quantum tools before you come to the retreat. Retreat is really an immersive experience for you. And we do have options either virtually to join us or in person live. Of course, if you can make it in person to Latvia, it's the best, right? And yes, you also have lifetime access support. When I heard that, Ciara, you're providing lifetime access, not just for the course, but actually for the support, right? Where people will be able to stay, ask their questions as a practitioners, is just mind blowing. So I would love for you to share, the a little bit more about retreat and a little bit more about people when they sign up. What do they start learning about Belaskta?
Amazing. I love that. And just to add on the lifetime support, I adore providing that. It gives me so much joy. We have a beautiful community, and for the literally the lifetime of, even if you live millions of years as an immortal being on the earth, as long as the internet exists, you've got that community to share the journey, ask questions, receive support, just be part of the incredible experience that we're building together globally here. So I want to share, Kristina, and I know that you're not inside my head, so this really is not necessarily going to be obvious, but there's actually even more than Bhavasvata that we're going to be learning at the retreat. We're actually going to be providing the entire framework by really establishing sovereignty within the inner psyche for stepping up as a new earth leader. So part of the reason why we have that you're going to receive all of the self-study materials in advance for Bhavasvata prior to even coming to the retreat is to give us space on the actual physical retreat that we can incorporate the other elements. You'll already have learned some, and then we tie it all together. So what I found in my journey of over the last 10 years of sharing this work with the beautiful beings who are coming to me for support is, we have these wonderful, wonderful aspirations and visions of who we really are. We want to step up as a new earth leader and so on, but there are major challenges that come with that. And unless we have the foundation of the inner psyche present really solidly established, what happens is the journey takes a whole lot longer. Because you have to go through the initiations of, I was saying earlier, people might project on you and all this kind of thing. There's a lot of stuff, maybe in your family, you're the first one to do this kind of thing. Maybe in your community, it's like, whoa, people don't do this kind of work. Or in the country that you're in, etc. I know that's a thing in Latvia. It's a thing in Ireland as well, a very Catholic country. This kind of stuff is weird. I'm the town weirdo, Actually, I'm starting to become the town. Oh, there's that healer woman that you can go to. And, Anyway, there's an initiation to go through. So what we're actually going to be providing is the framework of getting that straight, that you can go straight from the retreat into stepping up as your greater self and applying the tools as you go along, instead of leaving somebody stranded. It's like, wow, I've got all this amazing stuff. How the hell do I live this in my real life? We're not going to be leaving you hanging. We're going to be giving you the support that you're really held in taking your place on the earth. And on top of that, we're actually going to have more tools that we're going to be sharing with you. In particular, we're going to be sharing the Adasatma breaths of eternal life, which is a breath system that was used in ancient Lemuria, that was safeguarded for, again, ages during the dream of separation. It was kept secret. It was rediscovered by Almin in collaboration with some of her students who held keys to it. That is specifically for clearing the pranic tube of eons worth of trauma from the dream of separation. And the value of this is that some of the stuff from many cycles past, we don't even have a conscious recollection of. And so it's not something that you can say, oh, I'll, work on this, because you can't remember. It was 50,000 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So this does the work of, it just clears. I don't need to remember. It's fine. Like, I'm not going to have to remember that far back and somehow find the insights. We just clear it with the system. And in addition to that, when you do that, it extends the pranic tube to its full length. We're meant to have like a tail experience going on, where the tail of the pranic tube goes right down below the base chakra. For most people, it's coiled in the base chakra. It's actually meant to enter into the earth. And what happens when you have that experience is that you act as a grounding rod. In the same way as, when you see a lightning rod on a church, if a church was to be struck by lightning, the church is fine because it's got a lightning rod. We're actually becoming embodied practitioners that act as a lightning rod, that no matter what happens on the earth over the next decades, mad weather changes and stuff like that, we actually earth out the hyper-electrical charge to prevent cataclysm on our landmass and our continent. Does that make sense as a concept?
It makes sense, and honestly, it sounds like is this even real? Like, is it possible? One of the things you really touched on about the pranic tube coiling at the base, at the first chakra for most people, I actually didn't know that. And what's interesting that, again, I've been self-initiated kind of to embody these ways of being. And what I saw when I don't even recall when was it that I learned to send my energy from Tandien, the energy center, like point that is located between our root and sacral, sending that into earth and then drawing the energy back up, right? Kind of going through the pranic tube, then going back as a fountain, as a fountain throughout our toroidal field, entering back in, and then going up into the source, and then back up, back down to me, back to the pranic tube, and back into the earth. So what I experience in my mind's eye always has been that my pranic tube is beyond my human self, right? At the bottom, it's kind of entering into earth star, which is the energy center, aka chakra, that we share with the earth, and the soul star, which is the chakra that our human hologram, is sharing with the source. So that's what I always imagined, felt, and that's what I always shared, the breath that I teach my students and clients. So now when you shared me that most people have it at the root, coiling, I'm like, wow, it's like, it feels, shrinking and contracting to me. So yeah, this is huge, even if we can get people to, expanding their cosmic tube, pranic tube, that, wow, how much life force energy is going to flow through them more easily.
Exactly. Almin says, just a really tiny side note, I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, that the part of the pranic tube that's coiled holds our magic. So when you unfurl it, you're accessing essentially the magic of man that's been suppressed.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, no, it's like, that's why I'm so excited, because I feel there's so many people, souls like me, who just download this stuff from our past lifetimes, and we don't know how we know it. We just know. And a lot of the people don't fully trust it because, well, I just came up with it, right? It's just me. Where actually there is a system that can help you embody that, and kind of, you know, put everything that you already know and even more on the shelves and put the puzzle together.
Love that so much. That makes me so happy.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been going on for quite a while already with this. So for those of you who are interested in joining us in Latvia, again, May 12th through May 14th, 3 days is the full program. We booked the space for the people already to arrive the night prior and leave day after, so that, you know, you have spaciousness, and, you know, obviously encouraging you to come, if you're coming internationally, to come and explore Latvia. We will be also working, besides working on yourself and initiation of you, we will also work with the land, with Latvia, right? So you will be able to really use the tools that you learned and put it to practice on the ground.
We could spend 5 hours really having this conversation, couldn't we?
I mean, exactly. But, you know, the souls who are supposed to be there, that will resonate. So we'll leave the links in descriptions, in the comments. We have all of our early birds already covered. I think we have like 3 to 6 more spots available for souls to come in. So if this is in resonance, please do take action now, because the space, the circle that we're going to be holding is intimate, because we're really going after high quality experience, intimate experience, where you will be taken care of and provided and supported and nurtured. With that being said, yes, I also would love to share a little bit. Let's do that. We'll give all the next steps now, but I also would love to for you to share how this retreat came about, because I feel there's a lot of codes and, you know, service to others. Another thing that you guys can practically dive into, besides coming into retreat. So again, retreat, you do need to be initiated at the end. So you either come physically, join us at the retreat in Latvia, or if you cannot make it in person, there is a virtual option where you will receive one-on-one session with Ciara for self-initiation, but you also will be able to tune in and to a virtual live stream of our retreat in Latvia. So there are those 2 options. And the next practical step for you will be to join an upcoming masterclass with Ciara, Heart Consciousness, which is happening on March 22nd. So Ciara, would you like to share a little bit more what it's all about and what people are going to receive?
Yes, I'd love to. So my webinars are not the same sort of just normal things that you see out there where people just want to sell you loads of stuff and it's a waste of your time. Basically, it's a genuine, like, we have up to 2 hours. I tend to talk a lot. So I've just told people now, expect, like, leave a 2-hour window, because it's going to be more than an hour. That's just how it goes. Where we have a genuine, like, amazing experience together over that space of time. I'm going to give you, like, as much as can possibly be crammed in to that kind of space. And we're actually going to have on the webinar, as well as everything you're going to learn, the teach pieces and so on, we're actually going to have a live healing experience. Because one of the things that I hear often is, I'd love to experience Bhavasvata for myself, like before I start training and so on. Well, great, come to the live event and we're actually going to have a live healing and you can experience it. And if that's the only thing you want, come and receive that. And you can experience that for yourself. It's like a gift that we're giving in this live event, that you will literally experience it for yourself and understand some of the framework of living a heart consciousness-based reality for yourself, even if you don't come and train with us. I just want to give you as much as we possibly can. So my webinars are jam-packed. It's free. It's a no-brainer. I really encourage you to come and play and just receive that.
Yes. I love that. Because often, you know, in three-dimensional way of building business, it's like, oh yeah, a funnel, a business masterclass, yeah, then upselling, and then you listen to a freaking pitch, and people start to become aware and tolerant of that, or intolerant, so to speak. So I truly feel, with you, it's like pure service to others and pure, just like pure intention. So for anyone resonating with what we're sharing and wanting to ignite your heart consciousness and feel the pull toward retreat, but maybe you're like, oh, I'm not sure, I would love to experience it, come to the free event that's available for you. And from there, you can, choose either virtual or in person experience of Belaspita with the retreat. Again, the link down below, 22nd March, I'm definitely coming as well. So the last piece I would really love to share, so that people can get a little bit of reasoning behind why we're co-creating this retreat, how it came about, and why in Latvia. So yeah, as I mentioned, Latvia is my home country, right? And just to share a little bit, it's a small country, less than 2 million people. After the Second World War, there's a lot of density, there's a lot still of suppression in mental realms, right? So people, and not a lot of sun, so people do feel, especially in winter months, quite dense, suppressed. It's really grayish. So for me, growing up as a Latvian, I always felt separate, cut off from the rest of the world, and it always felt I need to work harder to even get to the level where the rest of the world is, because I felt there was no resources, right? So I had less resources. And this is a lot of perception of people in Latvia here. This is why a lot of people, especially in younger generation, is leaving in a search for a better life. And that was the case for me as well, right? I lived in Australia, Bali, traveled all over the world. But it is after only coming back, I started seeing the magic of Latvia, the people. And there is a huge reason why we're doing it in Latvia. So here, I would love for you to share your side of the story.
Absolutely. And I'll try to make it as brief as possible. So Ireland has a lot of similarities in terms of the magic and in terms of the experience of the people. Different, but really similar. It's a huge thing in Ireland as well, immigration. There aren't jobs here for the young people and so on. A lot of young people have left. It's a pain for the Irish people, that your sons are gone, your daughters are gone, sort of thing. Very big similar thing. Over the last probably 15 years in Ireland, I started to notice that we had a massive amount of Latvians arriving here. And I noticed the synergy between the people. And this type of thing always fascinates me. I'm so attuned to this concept of resonance. Like, wow, there's a huge synergy between the Irish people and the Latvian people. And I can feel that there's a magic in it. And there's a similarity in terms of the challenge. So I'd felt I really want to go to Latvia to understand this better. And I had a conversation with a beautiful Latvian here last year. And I asked, why did you come here? And he said, in Latvia, you could have the best degree in the world and you're never going to be able to make enough to just have a decent life. So I came to Ireland in search of a better life, essentially. Similar to what you've said. Anyway, cut a long story short, an opportunity came up last year to visit Latvia. I landed on the soil in Latvia and I was blown away by the shamanic magic in the land. Like my whole being was like, whoa, the soul of this land is so powerful. And then the next thing I noticed was the people don't know. They've experienced such profound trauma. They're not aware of like what they're standing on. Very similar to Ireland. And my heart just burst open. And I just felt this overwhelming, I have to come back with Belfast. And I thought, well, I don't know anybody. I don't speak Latvian. How exactly? And I just put it to life, like, life, I am in service to this. If it's meant to happen, show me the path. And then I met Kristina. And I told her about this vision. And like within a month, we've got it all organized.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, and as you were speaking about you landing on the land and feeling the energy, And people don't know, I literally am like, oh, getting emotional. Like I literally, it's like, I feel this. It's just, yeah, it not breaks my heart, but it's like, oh man, I just want for people to awaken to this and feel it and be free and find that unity and joy within themselves versus continuously running away and judging Latvia and the culture and the land and people here, right? There, everything that you need is already here. So there's that. But yes, it's like so interesting because I was calling in somebody who is on the same level of embodiment as yourself to support people, because on my own, again, as I said, I know a lot of the stuff, but I didn't have the system. I didn't feel necessarily not confident, but just like I felt I need a counterparter to bring this with me. So, right, we just, positive and positive, similar attracts now. So we called in one another at the beginning of the year. And yes, I think at the beginning of the February, you shared with me the vision. I'm like, that's it, we're doing it. So it's 2 months now. It's happening, what, month and a half away? Yeah.
And just to finish up, to tie into what we said earlier, Belfast has a gift of grace. I am so humbled to this modality. And to me, it's like Mother is bringing this gift, Source is bringing this gift of grace. I'm just happening to be somebody who stands in a position that I can play with this as a conduit. What's needed for Ireland, what's needed for Latvia, what's needed for every place in the world where there is this experience of this immense suppression is grace. Just lift us out of that. And that's what Belfast does. That's why we want to bring this gift. We would love, this is what we're calling in. So far, we've got people flying in from all around the world to join us, which is mind-blowing. And we'd love if we could have some Latvians come. Because what I want is to get Latvians on their own soil working with this. That's what I want to achieve with this.
Yes, it's crazy that we have people from US, from UK, all flying all over. Yeah, and me as a Latvian, I would love for people to have people here who are unlocking this power within themselves, this level of consciousness, this energy, this frequency, and then supporting others and supporting the land. And honestly, you don't need, once you're initiated, once you're exposed to this way, you by doing nothing, just being here on the land, you're already providing the healing and anchoring new ways of being. So this is huge. So if you're a Latvian or you're listening and you know some people in Latvia, please share this with them, right? We have a few spots available. The retreat itself is quite affordable, considering that you will be receiving the study materials, lifetime access to support, right? It's like if there will be no retreat, and you will just sign up for the online stuff, you will get way beyond that, but you also will have an incredible 3-day life experience in a rural area in Latvia, in Zivzeme. We'll have a body of water there. You will spend time in a beautiful nature. Honestly, for those of you who haven't been in Latvia, or Latvians, myself, as I traveled all over the world, and when I came back to Latvia, I only then felt how calm and clean it is energy-wise. There's no much noise going on because there's not a lot of people here. So that's a fact to appreciate. And yeah, we'll have beautiful food from a girl named Kristina. So I'm Kristina. There's a girl, Kristina. She's she has a plant-based kitchen teachings, and her brand is called Heart Kitchen. So it's all tying in a beautiful manner. So I really hope everyone who resonates does take action, and we have a few Latvians joining us as well.
Maybe finally you could just mention about the donation-based place.
Oh yes, right. And because it truly matters for us that it's a service, first of all, right? we have opened up one spot that is donation based, right? So we don't want financial resources to be a challenge. So we have opened up a door. If you feel like, oh, I really feel the resonance to come, but you feel contraction around money, we do have donation based, which is a minimum of 250 euros just to cover your living expenses and your food. But otherwise, you're pretty much receiving everything rest on the house. So please reach out to either me or Ciara, or when you go onto the retreat website, you can contact us through the page there. And yeah, and just in a free form, share your reasoning why you feel called to join and that you would love to receive financial support. We have that one spot open. So yeah, there's that.
This has been so amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ciara, so much for bringing this, for acting as a vessel for this beautiful system, for choosing to be of service to Latvia and people of Latvia, really showing up for all of this in such a beautiful, gracious way. And of course, thank you for your time on this video. Thank you everyone who tuned in. If you're watching on replay, we would appreciate you leaving a like, just a simple comment, just so that we know how you resonated, and share it to your fields because yes, this is a great support to spread the word. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kristina. Thank you, everybody. So much love. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.